Welcome to Iron Speed Designer video training. Today we are talking about using the databases area. Once we've created an application with Iron Speed Designer, we can open that application and make changes to it. Let's just get a recent application here for this video. And so when our application opens in Design Editor, we end up with the usual Application Explorer, the Layout Editor, and the Properties and Toolbox. What we're interested in today is the Databases area. The Databases area has the Application Explorer, but now we're exploring the content of the database and not the application folders. In this case, we have the server, which is just an access database, and so there's only a single database. There could be more than one. Inside that is both the tables and views and the stored procedures. In the tables and views, we have additionally, with every table or view, the fields that make it up. And we can see that every table or view in the database is reflected in the list of tables or views, but only some of them are included in the database. If we have one that hasn't been included in the database because you haven't chosen to make something from it yet, then you can always select it, and once you select it, you'll be able to see on the right the properties of that database, and then you can include it in the application by selecting yes here. Once you include it, if you choose to include it, it will then become part of the data access for the application, and you'll be able to make changes to it. In this case, we also have, for every table or view and every property or every field in the table or view, we have all of the properties. Every field, of course, has its own data type, the data type it comes with, and other properties which you may or may not be able to change. The article here is an OLE object, and so there aren't very many interesting properties. Let's take a look at the article path, which is a text data type, and the text data type has many properties that are of interest to you. First of all, in the actions are all the properties for initializing or setting default values. If the customization is disabled, then you'll be able to simply get the default value. But if you want to assign your own default value, you can use the formula editor, enable the formula, and then add your own formula here. Suppose we wanted to edit the path and always assign it to www.ironspeed.com. Whoops. And so you can set the formulas for all of these entries, and every field has its own formulas which you'll see individualized for that particular data type. Also, our data conversions. Every one of these properties, when you select it, will have a small explanation in the status bar beneath. Then we have the database fields. These, the database field properties, these are set in the database and are for your information only. And then we have foreign key and primary key properties and other user interface properties. Here you'll find the required, if you want to make it a required field or not, the validation type, which reflects what is done to validate the data, and so forth. One of the other really interesting features of IronSpeed Designer is the database synchronization feature. Every application starts with a database, and that database, although it may not change very frequently, is definitely not static. And you want to make sure that your application keeps in sync with the present and current form of the database. IronSpeed Designer has a very unique way of doing that. We have a data access layer in the application, but that data access layer is kept in sync using the tools and the synchronized database schema, so that if you change something in the database, you can go to the synchronize your database schema, and in this case, of course, since we haven't changed anything, we'll see that there are no changes to be made. But if you had, IronSpeed Designer would offer to accept those changes and include them in your data access layer. With your IronSpeed Designer pages, the foreign keys and primary keys in your database are very important. And so to illustrate that, I've added a view called alt product here, which is to contain an alternate product name. And then I've added in the order details table an alt product field, which should be the alternate product to use in case the current one is not available. With that, you'll see that right now this field has no foreign keys and is no primary keys. What we want to do is hook this field up with the alternate product view, and so it can be a drop-down list and select from the alternate product view. Easy enough to do. First of all, let's go to our layout editor and go to our order details page. In editing the order details, we have an alt product field, and we see that this is a text box. Just simply a text box shows some value. In particular, it should show the alternate product ID of the alternate products. But instead of showing that, we don't have any connection yet. Well, let's establish a connection and go back to our databases. In order for the alternate products field to be connected to the alternate products view, first of all, we have to assign a primary key to the alternate products. Well, the product ID will be fine for the alternate products, but what we'll need is a virtual primary key. Sorry, don't even need to do that because I already have a primary key. With a primary key in alternate products that's taken directly from the products table, then we go to our order details and the alternate product ID, and here we want to make this a virtual foreign key to the alternate products view. And so we'll look for alt products and the product ID, say OK, and now there's a foreign key relationship. With a foreign key relationship, when IronSpeed Designer creates the edit order details page, let's go back, we've established the relationship we need. Now we need to make this into a drop-down list selecting from the alternate products. The easiest way actually to do that is to let IronSpeed Designer do it, so we'll just delete the edit order details page. Once we delete it, just to be sure that all the pieces are in sync, we'll build the application. And as soon as our application rebuilds, we'll use the application wizard to go back and re-add that page. When we add it, IronSpeed Designer will take note of the new relationship and make the correct linkage. So with the page rebuilt, let's go to the application wizard, go to the pages, and we're looking to use the order details page, but the only page we want to add is the edit record page, which we've removed. So let's take away the rest. And finish. And we'll rebuild the edit order details page, this time taking account for the new virtual primary key or virtual foreign key we've added in the databases area. Well, we don't need to run the application right now. Let's go back to our editor. In the edit order details, we have an alternate product ID, and the alternate product ID is now a quick selector. I could also make that a drop-down list simply by changing the type, but a quick selector will do fine. And so if we view, where is my preview? If we view the page now, we'll see that we select the alternate product ID from its view. And so we can select the alternate product IDs, but we don't have any value, so all we're doing is selecting the ID. Well, it's kind of hard to know what it is if we don't have a value for it, so the one thing we still have left to do, the problem we have is that the alternate product in the order details table simply displays as the product ID in the alternate product. But what we really want is a meaningful name. So if we look at the alternate product ID in our order details table, we find that it has a display as property, but the display as right now is disabled. So let's enable that and choose the display as field instead of the alternate product ID. Let's choose the database record of the product name. Here we are, and the product name, we'll get a more meaningful explanation. So back to our page, let's rebuild it, and then we'll preview it and see what our alternate product ID looks like. Let's preview the page, and now when we select an alternate product, we'll see we have names instead of just IDs. Well, this completes the video on using the databases area. Be sure to see the many other videos available on the video pages of our website.